Each year, senior high school football players in the state of Alabama dream of wearing the crimson and white of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only a relatively few, though, will fulfill that dream because of scholarship limits. Of the 28 Tide signees in 1984, 14 played high school football in Alabama, 5 in Georgia, 3 in Florida, 2 each in Texas and Tennessee, and 1 in Arkansas and Mississippi.
Geographically, we're going to stay pretty much close to home because I think basically speaking, you win a lot more with the people that are closer to the university. It gives their families and their friends a better opportunity to come see them play.
So what do Alabama coaches look for in a prospect? Well, take former Alabama receiver Joey Jones, for example. A first-team All-Stater at Murphy High School of Mobile, Joey was only 5 feet 9 inches tall and 165 pounds. But teamed with Jesse Bendros, Jones gave Alabama its biggest passing threat since Dennis Holman and Ray Perkins.
An ideal prospect is a prospect that's never had a major injury, that's a very good student. You're not going to have problems with keeping him in school, and a prospect that meets the requirements or pretty close to meeting the requirements for his particular position from a physical standpoint. And I think we look at attitude a great deal, and a person, that means a lot to us. What kind of person it is, what kind of character does he have?
The recruiting process at Alabama is long and incorporates more than just the head coach. Assistant coaches play an active role. Ultimately, though, the decision on who is and who isn't recruited rests with the head coach. Then it's up to the entire staff to sell the recruit on coming to Alabama.
Try to sell them on our facilities, or not sell them so much, but show them to them. We try to tell them, try to inform them as much as we can of our academic program and let them know that we feel very strongly that academics does come first with us.
18 Southeastern Conference championships, 11 national championships, and the winningest coach in college football history. More than anything else, Alabama has football tradition. But does it affect recruiting?
You know, that has a lot to do with it, and it's a prestigious thing, especially with our standpoint. But I think the young people today are more excited about what the possibilities are of their 4 years.
Dave Cody, WSFA TV Sports. You remember those contests where you're supposed to find what's not right in the picture from the old dentist office and all? Well, see if you can figure out what's not exactly right with these marathon runners. Perhaps one of them's going the wrong way. At least he's running backwards. Talk about going the wrong way. The entire Houston basketball team here got lost, and they take it in for an easy bucket. Digger Phelps, he enjoyed it. And these two players certainly enjoyed it. Hey, let us in on the joke, guys. What is it, a pretty girl or something? Passes of the week. Mike Rivers, a great pass for the Nuggets here. Here's my favorite, though. Watch Jay Humphreys about to go out of bounds. A little behind the back to Larry Nance, and he slams it home. Great move by Dominique Wilkins, our moves of the week in the NBA, but the doctor doing another house call on the Atlanta Hawks. Larry Nance, a little 360 move there. And here is Mitchell Wiggins, the moonshot of the week. Here is our wipeout of the week. Guy's name is Anton Steiner of Austria. But take a look. You think that's a bad fall? He hops right up like nothing happened. I'd be in the hospital for 2 weeks. And the rest of the tough licks of the week, Dennis Johnson seems to be doing this a lot this year. And one more from last night's game, Eric Laird gives everybody a scare there in the front row. Our plays of the week, we'll have more for you next week.
The legends of Alabama State University attended today's Founders Day celebration. Levi Watkins, former president, and J. Garrick Hardy, professor emeritus. Pictures of those responsible for the school's development hung on stage beside those continuing ASU's growth. Even the speaker, Dr. Theodore Jemison, a 1940 class graduate and now president of the Baptist State Convention, began his remarks reminiscing about his days as a student. He called names like H. Council Trenum, C.J. Dunn, and Leila Barlow a memorable part of ASU's past. But while reflecting was important, Dr. Jemison exhorted the audience not to live the days gone by.
And really and truly, what is past is prologue. Don't try to live in it. Just remember it, and to punctuate it as to where you have come from.
At times, Dr. Jimison sounded more like a graduation speaker, urging students to excel.
We don't get to the top of the ladder by tricks, by maneuvering, by charm and beauty. For the book says, he who would be crowned in life is not crowned unless he strives lawfully.
Kim Davis, WSFA TV News.
As I reflect
The $46,326 for the matter of research and development on a specific project supposed to help industry in our state. In fact, this is quite... Doctor, good to see you too.
You want a mail here?
All right, folks.
Thank you, Governor.
Yes, sir, Doctor.
Okay, now if we could have Dr. Whitten.
I have tried to live the life that a person ought to try to live and do the things right.
From the days of horses and buggies right up to the space age, she's seen more of life than most of us can imagine. For 119 years, Miss Lottie has seen, if not believed, it all.
I don't bother the moon 'cause I don't believe nobody's been up there. It may have been, but I don't believe it.
She has no birth certificate, but says she was born in 1866, just 1 year after Lincoln was assassinated. Her parents were Indian. She married a black man and gave birth to 13 children. They, in turn, gave her 277 grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and great-great-grandchildren. Though she's almost blind now, she's seen a lot of people in her life and a lot of changes.
I may be wrong. You know, I can't been all over the country. But far as I've been and known, I think the people is a little more civilized now than they was years ago.
Miss Lottie's lived her whole life in Alabama. She says the only place she's ever wanted to go is heaven. But that may have to wait for a while. For now, she's got her 120th birthday to look forward to.
I ain't looking for it, but I am going to be proud if I meet it.
Happy birthday, Miss Lottie. Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News in Dixon's Mills.
Seven-year-old Russell Hardwick couldn't reach the light switch.
As a small one himself, he used his little baseball bat, his little wiffle bat to turn on the lights.
A computer program to calm crying babies, a math trivia game, and an improved doghouse. All practical ideas of children.
The major advantages that these children would have by participating in this invention convention would be to boost their enthusiasm, their interest in science as a total part of our curriculum, and also to help them develop problem solving, creative thinking, and to apply the scientific processes that they have learned in school to a productive kind of effort.
Each student had to define the need, follow criteria to solve the problem, and apply for a patent, just like an inventor. Russell Hardwick's switch stick took first prize in the primary class, first grade through third.
And it's better because little kids can't reach the light switch. Safer because if you stand on a stool, you might fall. And cleaner because you make a mess on the wall. And easier because all you have to do is push up and down.
12-year-old Brian Broderick had pretty stiff competition, but his blue jean dye caught the judge's eye. Leonardo da Vinci would have been proud. Dean Argo, WSFA TV News.
From several miles beneath the floor of Mobile Bay to the hands of Alabama State University and 6 other colleges, oil money paying off again. When then-Governor Bob James collected a whopping $449 million oil windfall in 1981, His investment plan included a trust fund of $10 million, the interest to be used to feed research grants to the state's colleges and universities.
This is cooperation between education, industry, and business.
Today, Governor Wallace, who last year upped the trust by another $1.5 million, passed out the first check to officials of ASU, followed by the other universities. In all, 22 research projects with a specific goal in mind.
Apply research to problems that would assist in the development of the economy of Alabama.
Officials also hope that promoting research projects will act as an academic facelift, attracting the nation's brightest students and faculty, as well as industry, which could benefit from the new discoveries. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News at the Capitol.
This is what made 1984 such an important year for the Tri-Rivers Waterway. The removal of rocks from Florida's Apalachicola River, the key to a dependable navigation system.
By guaranteeing a 9-foot channel by 100 feet, the users and the industrialists were able to rely on this river, and there's been a significant increase in the amount of tonnage and traffic on the river.
More than 1 million tons of commodities were transported on the waterway last year. While that's a 50% increase over 1983, Tri-Rivers officials say they can't afford to sit back.
You're not out of the woods until you get above the 5 million tons a year category and get yourselves out of the endangered species list.
At the association's annual meeting, members were urged to promote the waterway to attract new industries. One way is through a local port authority.
Now that we're in position to compete with those other areas that have long had good water transportation to reduce costs.
And while new industries won't pop up overnight along the waterway, the association's new president believes thousands of jobs can be added in time.
Once it starts rolling, then we're going to see new jobs created. And for every job that's created here, there'll be another job created someplace else.
Cal Calloway, WSFA TV News, Dothan.
This waterway from a regional perspective and to assist the states and local governments in their
Times are what it's all about, n'est-ce pas?
CC. Good afternoon, I'm Bob Howell, and this is a WSFA TV News special report. There's been a major development involving the Auburn sports program, specifically Coach Sonny Smith and the Auburn basketball team. Phil Snow is live in Auburn with details. Phil?
Bob, here at the Auburn Athletic dorm here just a few minutes ago at a hastily called press conference, Sonny Smith announced that he is resigning his head coach, his basketball coaching job, effective at the end of the year. He said that he did not give any specific reasons for resigning, but he talked about the stresses of the job. He talked about a business opportunity that he might like to pursue in the oil business. He generally, if I may give an opinion, I think decided that with all the pressures of basketball, he just didn't want to do it anymore at this time. He certainly did not resign under pressure from the university or under any pressure from Coach Pat Dye, the athletic director, in any way. He said he felt like that the Auburn program had made a lot of progress, that a firm foundation had been laid for Auburn basketball. Certainly he hadn't attained the goals he wanted to attain, winning the conference championship and filling the arena night after night. But simply he decided that with the stresses, with the pressures, with a few minor health problems that he has, and with an opportunity for business, that it was time to resign now at this point so that there would be plenty of time to go and find a good quality basketball coach to keep this program going. We'll have more details in the 6 o'clock news tonight. This is Phil Snow reporting live from the campus of Auburn University.
Thanks a lot, Phil Snow. As we said, we'll have a complete wrap-up tonight, including reaction to the news of the resignation of Sonny Smith. We now return to the Love Boat.
Relax and talk.
How about Mike?
Gerald, this come as a total surprise to you and the players?
Yes, it did. I didn't expect this and didn't know why we had a meeting today, and it just came as a total shock to me.
Can you understand why he decided to resign?
Oh, yes, I can. I understand. He sat down and he told us why, and there's a lot of little things that build up, and, you know, I can understand that.
How do you think this is going to affect the team the rest of the way?
Well, I don't know. We got a lot of young guys, and I just hope we all stick together and do what's right. Or, you know, just do what's right if some of us have to leave or whatever.
You have an opportunity to have a good season here, right?
Oh yes, we're still in it. I'm glad about that, and we've got to win this game tomorrow, and we've got to win the next one on the road, and we'll be in real good shape because we're like 1 or 2 games out of the league.
What did you think when he told you? What did you think when Coach Smith told you he was going to resign, Jeff?
Well, it came to me as a big shock. Saying that I would think that when I signed it, I thought that he would be my coach until I left. But, like I said, I don't guess things turned out to be they wanted to be, and it was time for a change.
How does that affect you? How do you feel about it? Of course, Coach Smith will be here the rest of the season, but how do you feel about it for your next few years?
Well, right now, we just have to take it game by game and day by day and finish out the rest of this season, and we'll see how things come.
Can you understand why he would want to resign?
Yeah, I would. I can. Like he said, if it's time for a change and you think it's time and you know it's time, you just have to, go along with it. And like he said, that's what he told us, and I pretty much respect his decision for leaving the university.
You think you all can play hard now? You don't think that'll be a problem?
I think we can go out and play hard.
You've been playing hard.
Yeah, the rest of the season, and continue to play well, because we win tomorrow, we'll be right back in the thick of things, and we'll get a couple of wins on the road. I don't see why we shouldn't, finish there in the top.
Do you have any idea that Coach Smith was thinking along these lines?
No, I had no idea that he was going to resign. I feel like he was frustrated at times because we wasn't winning, and the crowd support we had, it wasn't very good. So I was just very hurt when he came in and said he was going to resign.
Why do you think he just decided that it's not worth all the stress and the pressures?
Well, like I said, he's having a real hard time, but I feel like he thinks that he's not doing the job for Auburn. He feels like he set a higher standard of winning than what he's been getting here, so I think that's had a lot to do with it also.
Mm-hmm. This team just won't quit. It just won't lay over. You go down and beat a team to stay in the race. Do you think this team is still capable of making a run?
Oh, yeah, we're playing better now. We're giving great effort, just we're not shooting the ball very well. And I like to say this, we're not going to go out and give up on Auburn, and we're not going to go out just to win for Coach Smith. We're going to still win for Auburn regardless. But he's a great man, a great coach, but we're going to try to do our best to stay at the top of the league or get there.
Lot, and we ran the bus for a period of time and had the levels of carbon monoxide tested within the bus, and it was found to have a given level of carbon monoxide.
Have you determined any kind of reason for the carbon monoxide being present?
No, sir, we do not know the exact cause.
Before his senior season ever began, Lanier receiver Anthony McCall was a marked man. College coaches knew about his 6'3" frame, good speed, and great hands, and so did the general public through the news media. For the next 3 months, McCall displayed his athletic talents before the public and the college coaches, but some didn't restrict their attention to watching him play football.
Did the phone ever ring late at night?
It rang more early in the morning than late at night. Woke me up a lot, and it was okay. It was kind of fun, to be honest about it, until it got to the point where I just had to say where I was going.
Once football season ended, all of the attention shifted to the Lanier Gym, where Anthony is a starter on the basketball team.
In the Prattville game and the game last week, I saw a Georgia Tech coach around. And didn't really do much. I just played a little harder, to be honest. It gets to me sometimes. It'll affect my practice at times, but come game time, my mind is totally on the game.
This would seem like an awful lot for an 18-year-old high school senior to put up with. McCall admits he's felt some pressure.
Well, mostly I was confused. Like, they would come, one would come and talk to you, then another one would come right behind him. Just have a mind full of thoughts, no time to sort them out, you know. Just be thinking everything one say and the other say. You know, never had time to just sit down and just think things out. And I was just confused all the time until I just knew where I wanted to go. You know, something hit me. Just Auburn.
McCall's commitment to Auburn was made January 29th, 2 weeks before the national signing date. But it wasn't made to get the recruiters off his back.
I went ahead and made the commitment for one reason, so they wouldn't run out of scholarships. But really, I just had my mind made up. I wanted to go and tell them that I was coming.
McCall says Auburn coaches made him no guarantees as far as playing time is concerned, and that no colleges made him any guarantees, period.
None never offered me anything, you know, that wasn't legal. They were pretty straight about it there, and I never thought anything, you know. I never had any suspicion about either one of them.
The stress and the pressures of the Southeastern Conference are great, but not half as great as the pressures that I've placed on myself. I do this at this time to give Auburn University time to hire a quality basketball coach.
One person in this room who does not realize that we now...
If it will not be successful, then we'll all be very disappointed.
Governor Wallace has declared the month of February Child Safety Month. And of course, it is within this month that it is hoped that throughout the state of Alabama, plans will be made in every area, every city, every county, for all of the children to have this opportunity to be fingerprinted.
They need to assess us and talk about details of Houston County and overall law awareness activities in the school system. You'll get approximately 100% of the people that just like everybody does. You won't find anybody that refuses it once they understand that you're not trying to invade them.
Significant that it be held in the heartland. Despite the rosy economic picture painted by the administration, this is not the case out in the country and on the farms and ranches across the nation. The situation is worsening rapidly. There is a failure to recognize the severity and the proportion of the farm crisis and its impact on rural towns.
They've got probably one of the strongest lobbies. If such a plan is enacted into law under the guise of education reform in Alabama, never again, in my judgment, will the Alabama taxpayers believe in public education. You're going to be rewarding the same incompetence that you've been rewarding for years, and you're going to be slapping the good school teacher in the face.
Was in getting the first effective and fair. There have been times when we have run into some of the scams.
A crisis in education. And I think this threatens us as much as crime that's on the street today, or as much as threats from foreign powers, for instance. And I think if we don't get a handle on the problems of education in Alabama.
I understand that after he was advised, then of course he contacted his own physicians, which started treatment for rabies because he scratched his hand or had a cut on his hand at the time that he was involved with the raccoon. But the raccoon there in Arrowhead was positive for rabies.
Hello, Miss Pritchett.
I care.
Bless you. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
We wish you, all of us on today, and Brian, wave to her, Brian. She's watching us right. Can we wave?
I think she can see it.
Do you like Brian Gumble, Miss Pritchett?
We should explain that part of the reason we have hooked up with Miss Pritchett today.
Yes, I love him.
Oh, thank you very much.
She told us that yesterday in the rehearsal.
You're a dear, lovely young lady. Thank you very much. Happy birthday. Miss Pritchett is 119 today. What are you doing to celebrate today, Miss Pritchett?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And you, Miss Pritchett was born 1 year after Lincoln was assassinated under the Andrew Johnson administration. What do you like to eat, Miss Pritchett? What's your favorite food?
I think we've hung up.
Have we lost it?
Yeah, we've disconnected it.
Well,
happy birthday.
We didn't, as I say, expect to do Meet the Press here or get, an in-depth interview, but we just thought it would be fun. And that's
119, I bet I won't be speaking.
If you can speak and say hello, I can't hear and see now, and I'm 50, so that's almost, I got a ways to go
Are
yet.
you only 50?
Mm-hmm.
Just
Thank you. This side is 50. Below the waterline, I'm 102. Let's check the...
Football is a big item in Alabama. Nearly 400 high schools have varsity teams, not to mention the junior high programs. Over 15,000 young men play the game at the varsity level in Alabama. Of that group, only about 2% will be offered college scholarships. Only a handful will be so-called blue chippers, meaning they can virtually choose the school they want to play for. Enterprise running back Darrell Edwards is not a blue chipper, but he did have several offers. He chose Georgia Tech.
I wanted to go to a place where they really cared about your education, because I realized that education is something that's concrete, something that nobody can ever take away from you. And as an athlete, your career could be over just like that. Just one play and it could be over.
Enterprise coach Bill Bacon has turned out many college football players, and he takes an active role in their recruitment.
At the beginning of the recruiting, he got together with me and asked me where did I want to go, some of my choices. And then he got in touch with the schools and asked them where they're going to offer me a scholarship, and we went from there.
Darrell may develop into a great running back and may play professionally, but he knows the odds are great, so he's used the recruiting experience the right way, a means to a college education. This is Phil Snow, WSFA TV Sports.
Stocks and Brands investigators say Wildberger and his wife printed a horse show magazine and called on farmers and horse fanciers, allegedly using that as a method to case potential theft sites. The saddles and other riding gear is expensive and easily sold, according to B.G. Pruitt, Chief Stocks and Brands investigator.
They are real easy to resell because they sold a saddle here in Montgomery that retails for approximately $800 for $45. They put them all over these other states in tack shops, go to horse shows, sell the equipment. So it was real easy to get rid of.
Pruitt says Wildberger is wanted in 6 other states for other charges and had operated in Alabama for about a year before being arrested in Crenshaw County. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.
This woman is one of many who's concerned about the American farmer. She's the national president of Women Involved in Farm Economics, and she just returned from a national meeting in Des Moines, Iowa, where farm leaders met to discuss a deepening crisis in rural America. She says thousands of farmers may not be able to plant their crops this year because they can't get a loan.
It's going to be tough, but I think if we look back at history, that we'll see that the years that agriculture has prospered and the years that it's cost the government the least was when loan rates, support prices, in conjunction with supply management, was in force.
Beck says the problem stems from farmers not making a profit. In fact, she says the net income of farmers fell 40% from 1972 to 1982. And she says the net income of every farmer put together can't pay for the $218 billion national farm debt. Beck says the farm crisis won't fall on farmers' shoulders alone. It will affect the entire country.
It no longer is a regional thing or a spotty thing. It's happening all over.
Beck says the situation in agriculture will have a domino effect. In fact, some Midwestern banks are already closing due to heavy agricultural losses. Christy Steves, WSFA TV News, Dothan.
Montgomery Animal Control officers are alarmed that Arrowhead residents are not as concerned with the rabies danger as officials believe they should be.
Perhaps we're not as worried as people who have children or pets. We don't happen to have either one at our house.
No, I'm not worried because even, you know, my back is fenced and like I said, I always stay and watch everything.
Animal control officers are watching everything in Arrowhead also. Today, 3 trucks patrolled the area. Raccoon traps were set and at least 3 dogs were picked up.
We found a beaver down here around Arrowhead Road Drive that 3 of the animals out here was eating on this morning. So we contacted the state lab and the health department, and they advised go ahead and take it up to state lab and get it checked.
Officials at the state lab will know Monday morning whether the beaver was rabid. The county health department is taking no chances. Today, notices were placed in all Arrowhead residents' mailboxes requesting them to have their pets' rabies vaccinations updated and asking residents not to let their pets run loose. Any animal the officers see running loose is checked for its rabies tag, and if the pet's owner can't be located...
Ones that's right back out again today, we'll go in and pick them up and take them to the humane shelter.
Lockhart says animal control officers will patrol Arrowhead subdivision for the next 30 days. Lisa Walsh, WSFA TV News.
For most of us in 1985, the days of the mom-and-pop drugstore are a thing of the past. But now here on Dexter Avenue, there's a place where you can go back to the leisurely days of the 1930s. Back to the mom-and-pop drugstore, complete with soda fountain. This is the Alabama Pharmaceutical Association's Drugstore Museum, painstakingly put together to preserve a small part of time when life seemed to be so much easier.
It was a time, the 30s was a time that the pharmacists were well respected in the community. It was the social gathering place, and we would like to preserve a portion of this heritage.
The APA spent about $50,000 on the museum. That's not including the artifacts. And you'll find no reproductions here. Each exhibit on the shelf is the genuine article. Even the script on the labels dates back to the 30s. All the pieces sat on some druggist's shelf at some time in Alabama during the 1930s.
We went to the attics, the basements of these stores, and found some real treasures.
Just like their descendants today, drugstores 50 years ago sold more than just drugs. Customers could find everything from cigars to cosmetics to a good deal of socializing.
You know, for 5 cents, a group could go in, or you could take your best girl, and you could lounge around and listen to the radio and have a Coke or an ice cream soda for 10 cents, and you'd feel like you're in real luxury.
Terry Stanton, WSFA TV News.
I don't go back that far, but I do go back to the old place with me that during the Vietnam era, I bet that will up the old tree.
Take the God's spoken, will you?
You got it?
We're going to have to hold that just a little.
Damage to left front.
Wrestling may be a declining sport at the college level here in the South, but at many high schools, wrestling is a competitive sport. Take Montgomery's Lanier High School. Coach Freddie Russell's squad consists of one such wrestler who could compete on the college level, but will probably not have a chance. He is Frank Terrence, a 17-year-old senior who weighs between 295 and 300 pounds. Terrence has lost only once in heavyweight competition this season. So what does it take to wrestle? It should be noted Terrence bench presses 325 pounds, and on the leg press, he can hoist 600 pounds.
Well, in my opinion, wrestling is a good sport for most people. You know, if you're not cut out to do all the practice and do all the running, you can't make it.
In his match this afternoon with Elbert Butler of Opelika, Terrence won with a pin at 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Terrence and Anthony Brown of Lee High School will compete for the area championship tonight. The competition began at 6 o'clock. In the post-game interviews, Auburn star Chuck Person admitted the Tigers played emotional basketball in the first half. The Vols led 33-31 at intermission, holding a 6-point margin at 1 point. But in the second half, the Tigers literally blew the Vols off the court. Chuck Person did not miss. He ended with 31 points. You add the 39 buckets he scored last Wednesday in Gainesville, and the All-American has scored 70 points in his last 2 games. Gerald White had 13, while freshman Chris Morris added 11 points for Auburn. Coach Sonny Smith says his Tigers out-hustled Tennessee in the second half, committing fewer turnovers and stretching their lead to 17 points, ultimately winning by 15. The Tigers shot 62% from the field and pulled down 28 rebounds. The win pushes Auburn's conference mark to an even 6-6. Overall, the Tigers stand at 14 wins and 7 losses on the season. Auburn was behind 33-31 at the half, although shooting 52% from the field compared to the Vols' 53.6%. The second half was a different ball game. Chuck Person shot 9 times and made all 9. He led all scorers with 31 points today in the first game since Coach Sonny Smith announced he will no longer coach the Tigers, effective at the end of the season. Auburn was also led by Gerald White with 13 points and Chris Morris with 11. In a post-game interview, Sonny Smith said his team out-hustled Tennessee, something other conference teams have found difficult to do.
This has always been a goal for me, and because I know Don so well, I believe we out-hustled Tennessee in the second half, and, buddy, that's hard to do. You just don't do that against the Tennessee team. And I thought our effort was great, and to anybody that makes something out of that, that's a compliment to the Tennessee basketball team.
It's one of nature's most unpredictable elements, and because of that, it's wise to be prepared for bad weather at all times. That's why federal, state, and county agencies are gearing up for the annual Severe Weather Preparedness Week.
The idea is to plan what you would do in your home or even at work or at school or wherever you might be, we want you to think about what you do if severe weather does occur.
Severe weather can occur at any time, but it's most active during the spring. The most violent type of storm in these parts is the tornado. That's why a statewide tornado drill will be issued on Thursday.
They can cause extensive property damage in a very short period of time. Tornadoes can move between 40 and 60 miles an hour, and that type of destruction, mile-a-minute type destruction, you can just imagine what it could do.
Wilfing says everyone should view the week seriously and take some time to do a little planning. Planning that could save a life.
We want people to think about it and see what they would do at that time. And it's better to practice now when it's not the real thing than it would be to play it by ear, when the weather does get bad.
Terry Stanton, WSFA TV News.
It was a day for heart patients to get together with heart specialists away from the operating table. Many of the people in this room owe their lives to 8 doctors who since 1974 have performed more than 1,400 open heart surgeries at St. Margaret's Hospital. Cardiologist Tom Wool says great strides have been made in open heart surgery.
The decline in coronary artery disease-related deaths has been greater than among any of the other cardiovascular causes of death. As a result of this, there are more than 500,000 more Americans living today than would have been expected to be alive based on 1963 rates.
Dr. Robert Robichaud says that 90% of all heart attacks are caused by a blockage from a blood clot in a coronary artery, but that a drug has been developed which is up to 80% effective in curing such cases.
The process that we're so excited about is the ability to actually dissolve that acute blood clot with a special medication called streptokinase and actually restore the blood flow to the jeopardized heart muscle.
To the heart patients here, any news of a heart disease breakthrough is good news. TV 12's Bob Ingram sums it up best.
Ain't it good to be alive?
Lisa Walsh, WSFA TV News.
We're going to go back tomorrow and pick up all of the traps we have out inside the city area at various locations and transport them all to Arrowhead, placing them in the low-lying swamp area, the backwoods type areas, to try to catch more raccoons, possums, things of this nature that may be running that wild out there, to have them tested to see if there may possibly be a further spread that we're not aware of.
College hoops from Assembly Center in Baton Rouge. LSU trying to improve on their 14-6 overall record. They are 8-5 in the SEC. Dean Smith's squad shooting just over 57% in the first half. LSU soared with a 69.2. The Tigers took a 3-point lead at the half. Dodden Redden throws in a 25-footer. It was 39-36. Jerry Reynolds got the Tigers going in the second half with an uncustomary outside jumper. Kenny Smith and Steve Hale combined for 2 points. The Tar Heels may have lost Michael Jordan, but they still find a way to win. LSU's Derek Taylor tied the game at 52 with his inside move. Taylor had 16 points for the Tigers. Tar Heel Brad Daughtery led all scorers with 19. He hit on 7 of 8 field goals in the second half. LSU's Nikita Wilson tried to bring his team back at the buzzer. He gets the dunk. North Carolina wins it 75-60. The Tar Heels record now goes to 18-5.
Down the back straightaway.
Cale Yarborough took the lead from pole sitter Ricky Rudd on the second turn of this race and led the field through the first 4 laps. It was then that hard-charging Terry Labonte roared past Yarborough on lap 5. Yarborough stayed close in second place until smoke began pouring out of his engine on lap 13, sending him into the pits. Yarborough's race was over. Labonte never gave up the lead, driving his Chevrolet Monte Carlo to the finish line 7/100ths of a second in front of Darrell Waltrip, who would finish second. Winning the event, Labonte picked up $65,000, averaging 195.865 miles per hour, a new record previously set by Buddy Baker back in 1979 in the first inaugural clash.
Fall down, it will come back up. If it had been hard enough. Right now, by suspicious, we're meaning that it could be, and I emphasize could or maybe, be the work of vandals or transients. And we have not determined if it was a deliberate act of arson or not. We just have not made that determination yet.
The McBride Screws Tyson House is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Saturday night, the approximately 130-year-old home almost burned up in a fire that kept firefighters busy for more than an hour.
There's a lot of heat concentrated here in this particular area.
Today, fire investigators were sifting through the ashes, wondering just how the fire started. Though they're not calling it arson, they do say the cause of the fire seems suspicious.
By suspicious, we're meaning that it could be, and I emphasize could or maybe, be the work of vandals or transients. And we have not determined if it was a deliberate act of arson or not. We just have not made that determination yet.
The Tyson house has been empty for several years. Its owners say it was under renovation. Meanwhile, local historians say it's lucky the fire did no more damage. Fire officials say with the extensive damage here, it could take several days to complete their investigation. And even then, they may not be able to determine how this fire started. Tom Foreman, WSFA TV News.
The rate of executions is speeding up. Last year, states put 21 inmates to death. In the first 30 days of 1985, 5 have already been executed. Alabama's last death sentence was carried out April 22, 1983, when John Lewis Evans was electrocuted for murdering a Mobile pawn shop owner. On Alabama's death row, 74 inmates wait for legal remedies to save them from the chair. Montgomery's John Carroll has represented 30 condemned inmates. With 3 death row clients now, he says the speed up of the executions will probably continue, but a recent ruling may give the condemned inmates a little more time.
Generally, I think inmates both in Alabama and elsewhere are running out of appeals. They're at the end of their appeal process, and thus they could be executed within a short period of time. The ruling out of the Midwest, though, could raise the possibility that as much as an 18-month moratorium could be placed on executions in the country if the Supreme Court decides to review the case.
Legal experts say the passage of time works against inmates because more and more condemned inmates are exhausting their legal appeals. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.
We've got this raccoon here could have come from another area and come on down in here just moving around, could have come down in here. We just want to go ahead and get some more to go ahead and take state lab to make sure if we do have any more rabbit out here or not.
Right now, with conventional radar, we can only see about half of the tornadoes that occur around the country. I think with Doppler radar, you're going to improve that and be up around 70, perhaps even 80%.
Give me your location and move it, Paul. It looks like to me that...
I just gotta get the lights off.
Okay. Check what you need.
Okay, why the boycott?
Because we told the superintendent and the board 3 times last week at board meetings that we will not bus our kids, even after we made the proposal of consolidating our 2 schools. They would not listen to us. Today's move was to show him we do mean what we say.
The board decided, when did they pass the plan?
This past Thursday.
So it's 31 miles to and from.
That's from the school where we are now to the other school.
The jackhammers will soon remove this portion of the 6th floor to make room for a 2-story House chamber. Upstairs will be a similar 2-story Senate chamber. The idea is to create a facility lawmakers can use while the 130-year-old chambers in the Capitol building are renovated. This door used to lead to the Highway Director's office. Soon it will house a suite of offices for Governor Wallace and future governors to use while the current offices are brought back to their original splendor. During the last century, that splendor has slowly eroded into splintered paint and makeshift repairs. No one has ever doubted that the historical building has fallen into ill repair and filled beyond its capacity. As many as 6 lawmakers share one small office. Others have no office space at all. But there is fear by some historians that once lawmakers move into the new facilities with an office for everyone, they'll not want to return to the Capitol. And they don't, except for the act of meeting in the chambers. That in part is why the cost of renovating the highway building has jumped $2 million. Plans are being made to provide a tunnel from the highway building to the Capitol. Other inflationary costs can be traced back to the increased fire code protections. Lawmakers should be able to sit in their new offices by December. That's when work can finally begin on changing the inside of the state capitol. Chris Grimshaw, WSFA TV News.